I want to tell you a story, one without flashy moments or instant wins. It's a story about losing everything, feeling lost, falling so deep you can't even see the edge, and then picking yourself up and starting over. My breakdown didn't happen in a movie. It was slow and painful, like a quiet shipwreck cracking apart on the calmest day. So let's start. It was 2010. I had a decent job at a tech company, a steady paycheck, and rented place in the suburbs. It seemed like life was headed for that classic American success. But I got stuck, trapped in my own comfort zone, unable to look beyond it. I lived in a world where making money was the only measure of success, and I did everything to stay afloat. Long hours, deadlines, projects that drained me. But instead of feeling accomplished, I started losing myself. Then I got the dreaded golden letter. The company I worked for was going through a major restructuring. My department was being cut. I was about to turn 30, with no backup plan, no wings to fly. The first blow, losing my job. The first shock, realizing that without a financial cushion, I was on the brink of bankruptcy. My savings were melting fast. Creditors called more and more often. But what scared me the most wasn't the lack of money. It was the fear I wouldn't be able to find myself again. But it wasn't just about the job. My trust in myself shattered. I started doubting my ideas, my abilities. Every morning I woke up wondering where to go next. The worst part? Knowing that even my tried and true skills and knowledge weren't enough anymore. Tech was changing fast, and I wasn't keeping up. Younger, quicker, more flexible people surrounded me. Feeling outdated and helpless was like carrying a heavy iceberg on my shoulders. I signed up for courses on new technologies, but every class was a battle with the inner fear that I was too old to start over. One evening, sitting in a tiny room with my old laptop, scrolling through job listings, I wondered what to do. Outside, the first snowflakes of Chicago fell, cold cutting through to the bone. My savings barely covered rent. Thoughts flooded my mind. Maybe you just weren't made for this? Maybe it's better to give up and find stability. Then, at that moment, I got a call from an old friend working at a startup. He wasn't just a friend. Mike and I went to college together, back when life felt carefree and endless. I remember us talking about plans during lectures, dreaming of building something big, something our own. But life took us down different paths. Mike got into startups earlier than me. He was always one step ahead in the tech and startup world. When I lost my job, we didn't talk regularly, but stayed in touch. And when I hit rock bottom, he called. I heard you're looking for something new. We've got an idea, a platform for small businesses to manage online orders. But we're short on hands and experience. Want to give it a shot? He said. The idea sounded simple, almost naive. But it opened a window to a new world. A world of opportunities I'd lost sight of. I started working with Mike on that service, trying to find what would set us apart from hundreds of other platforms. It wasn't a flashy breakthrough. It was painstaking work. Hours of talks with potential clients, analyzing their problems, late-night code fixes, endless emails. I remember once sitting in the coffee shop where we usually met. Mike said, "You know, it's like putting together a puzzle, but half the pieces are missing. You have to find them." That became my motto for the next few months. Search, gather, don't stop. The first challenge after Mike's call wasn't technology. It was figuring out how to survive while the project didn't bring money. I had no job, little cash, and every day was a battle just to cover basics. Rent, food, not losing my mind. To pay bills, I worked evenings fixing neighbors' computers, freelancing websites, even doing simple office tasks for a couple bucks an hour. I was sleeping only 4 to 5 hours a night. Keeping motivation was even harder. Often I'd sit alone in my apartment staring at the ceiling, thinking, why am I doing this? Will it work? Wouldn't it be easier to just go back to a safe life? But when Mike called with a new idea or a potential client, I felt alive. 2 months into the project, we had a small team. Besides Mike, I found a former colleague, Sarah, a designer with a sharp eye. She joined almost for free because she believed in the idea. We worked in the kitchen of my tiny apartment. Laptops, sheets of diagrams, empty coffee cups, the quiet of night. Everyone had their own motivation, but the biggest was the belief that we were building something important. The idea, helping small businesses quickly and easily manage online orders, didn't come out of nowhere. Mike told me about cafe and store owners overwhelmed by calls, notes, and paperwork. We talked to them, gathered real pain points to make the product genuinely useful. It was tough. We heard dozens of no's, skepticism, even outright dismissal. Business owners said, "It's too expensive. I don't need this. I manage fine on my own." But we didn't give up. We listened, asked questions, reworked. Then one cold morning, in our small town, we got our first subscription order from a local bakery. $50 a month. It was a drop in the bucket, but also proof we weren't just making stuff up. My personal transformation was slow, painful, and often invisible. I started waking up early, working out to keep my head clear. I gave up bad habits that dragged me down. I read books on business, psychology, self-development. Every new skill felt like a door opening to something I hadn't seen before. That whole journey forced me to face the truth, not just outside problems, but my own fears and doubts. And even when it felt like there wasn't enough money for coffee, I learned to invest in the most important things, myself and the team. It's been about a year since we started working on the project in my tiny kitchen. In that time, I felt the full bitterness of failure and disappointment. We lost clients, fought software bugs, argued within the team over misunderstandings and exhaustion. But the worst feeling was standing still while time and money slipped away. Our funds were almost gone. Mike was my closest partner, but even he began to doubt. He said, "We have to find an investor, or this all falls apart." Raising money was a real test. I wrote dozens of emails, set up meetings, but most investors ignored us. A few said, "Too risky. Your idea's too simple. We've seen this before." One night I almost gave up. Exhaustion and disappointment overwhelmed me. I sat on the office floor staring at the dark city outside, thinking, maybe this is the end? But Mike, who always believed in us, reminded me, this isn't about the product. It's about us. If we quit, who else will believe? I got back to work with renewed energy. We reworked our strategy, improved the product, listened carefully to users. Then something unexpected happened. At a conference, we met an investor willing to take a chance. Not the biggest out there, but for us, a victory. He saw our potential, our passion, our drive to make a difference. We used that first investment not to scale, but to hire another developer and improve the service. Gradually, more clients came. We learned to listen to our users, respond quickly, and got better every day. One of the most unforgettable moments was when a major restaurant group in the city adopted our service. That was proof. We weren't just a small project in an apartment. We were a team capable of changing the market. For me, this journey wasn't about money. It was about learning to be strong, not giving up, building trust and support. After getting that first investment and landing a few big clients, it was time to scale. That was a whole new challenge. Suddenly, you're not just thinking about the product, but about the team, culture, processes, and finances. It's a whole different level of responsibility. I realized being a leader isn't about telling people what to do. It's about listening. Listening to your team, understanding their struggles, supporting them when things get tough, and not being afraid to make unpopular decisions. We hired some young but talented people who believed in our mission and were ready to work not just for a paycheck, but for the idea. It wasn't easy. Often we had to explain that success doesn't come in a week, that falling down is part of the journey, and mistakes are lessons. I often think back to a conversation with one of our first employees. "Why don't you quit when things go wrong?" "Because I don't want my story to end here. I want it to inspire others, and because faith is what keeps me moving." That faith became our strength. We built a product that helped thousands of small businesses across the country work more efficiently and grow. For me, it wasn't just business. It was transformation. I learned to appreciate every day, every meeting, every no, and every yes. Looking back, I see that every minute of struggle and every sleepless night wasn't just a test. It was my real teacher. Thanks to this journey, I built not just a company, but a community of people changing the lives of small businesses across the country. Today, my startup serves thousands of clients, operates in dozens of cities, and most importantly, gives hundreds of people the chance to pursue their dreams and ideas. I have a team that's become my second family. Talented, dedicated, inspired people I grow and learn with every day. Financial success came gradually, but it gave me the freedom to do what I love and support those around me. I was able to invest in my education, travel, and most importantly, the quality of my life and family. I'm happy not because of the zeros in my bank account, but because I wake up every morning with a sense of purpose, the chance to create and to be useful. My story isn't about easy success. It's about the power of faith, persistence, and the ability to get back up after falling. And that, maybe, is the greatest thing I gained: inner peace and the confidence that a real dream is possible if you don't stop. That's how I became who I am today. Not just a businessman, but someone who knows that real success starts with small steps, believing in yourself, and being ready to fight. Thanks for listening to my story. Maybe it'll inspire you to start your own journey.